Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. We're very fortunate this evening to have with us a distinguished, young, successful gentleman by the name of Anthony Coleman. Anthony Coleman is the son of Gerald Coleman, employee of the North Chicago Community School District number 187. And he's also the successful coach of the basketball team, won second place in the state of Illinois in their division in 2012. But Anthony Coleman also is the co-founder of Littman & Littman Realty Company. He's a co-founder of Parents That Care for District 187 and many other things that he's done, but we're going to let him talk about it. And I just found out he's had been a Comcast contractor, so he's no stranger to the studio here at Comcast. Good evening, Mr. Coleman.
How you doing, Mr. Brooks?
We're very happy that you've taken time for your busy schedule to be with us on Community Forum. Our Comcast audience is approximately 100,000 people. Wow. And Community Forum thought that Lake County should know who you are. We know your family very well. Matter of fact, we had your late grandmother and the family of the Coleman, J.C. Coleman Sr., I guess, right?
Yes.
J.C. Coleman Sr.
Yes.
And so that was a great. So we thought we would have you on when we found out that you're doing a lot of things in the community, especially as they affect young people. So I'd like for you, first of all, you tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Okay. Well, Mr. Brooks, first of all, it's absolutely a pleasure to be here this evening, and I'd like to thank you for your time. And as growing up, I remember watching your show, and I says, well, all those people that are always on your show is important, so I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Okay. I do appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
I got a few notes in front of me here. I don't have a teleprompter like Obama, but
okay.
I'll go ahead and work off of my notes. But I was born and raised in North Chicago.
Okay.
My state that I was born in was actually Wisconsin. And for those that actually know my dad, he played professional basketball, and I kind of traveled the world with my father my father and my mom until I was about 5.
Okay.
And then I came back to North Chicago, and that's where I remained until now. I've attended some of the schools, the elementary schools, Hart, formerly known as Central, Neal, Novak, Yeager, South, and eventually I graduated in '93 from North Chicago Community High School. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I went on to IT&T and DeVry for 2 years, and following that, I went into the workforce. Motorola offered me a job when I was in college for $14 an hour.
Okay.
And that was a lot, in '94, '95, and I jumped at the opportunity, and I was actually putting 911 systems together for like China, mm-hmm. Chicago, where their dispatch center is. Mm-hmm. I worked there for about 2 years, 2 to 4 years after that. Then I began doing cable for about 10 years, and then that's kind of where my business, and that's where I started learning about business, actually. I actually started my first corporation there. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, tell us, what piqued your interest in real estate?
Well, I would say that it wasn't what piqued my interest in real estate. Mm-hmm. It was when I worked at Comcast. I was very happy with Comcast. Shouts out to Comcast, of course.
Okay.
But there's pecking orders in Comcast in which, you've got all these. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this on Comcast, but mm-hmm. there's a order in which at that time, and that's the old AT&T at the time.
Right.
you could only get so many jobs. And I kind of found a way to get more jobs than I was supposed to have. And so they kind of sat me down and they says, well, you know, you can't get that much work. And I continued to do that work. And one day, it was kind of difficult for me to tell the people that were working for me that you could no longer work hard and trying to achieve as many jobs and, you know, feed your family. And so I never told them. And so we just continued to get work. And one day they called me into the office, and I prayed and I says, God, well, you know, if this is the door that's closing for you, for me, I just pray that you open up another door for me. And real estate was a door that was opened up for me. It wasn't necessarily something that I had pursued or dreamed about when I was in school. That's just the direction that God had led me in at that time.
We talk about thinking out of the box, and you definitely was thinking out of the box when you chose to go into real estate, something that you knew you would be successful with, right? Because it sounds like you are very aggressive and you show a lot of initiative, you know, and growth in the business world.
Well, if God orders your footsteps to go in a certain direction, you're going to be successful. So it wasn't so much myself and I just prayed and I knew I had heard from God, and that's the direction in which my footsteps were led, and that's the direction I went in. And I am grateful that I listened. So it wasn't, you know, I don't want to say it was all me. Most definitely not Mr. Brooks.
You may just touch on this just a little bit about the real estate world today.
Yes.
It's a lot different than it was in '93, '94. You know, when the opportunity was provided for you there. But what has happened now in the real estate world?
Well, what I've seen in the real estate markets, in my experience and my expertise, is that people tend to generalize the real estate market and saying that it's going downhill.
Okay.
And actually, that's not true in all markets. And that was one thing that I really learned doing real estate, is that there are actually pockets that actually they're still buying houses. You're still, the real estate values are still going up. There are areas in which things are still growing and things are still going forward and things are still progressing. And the biggest lesson that I learned is real estate is really an opinion. Would you like to live in that city? And how much do you think that house is worth to live in that city? And that really drives the real estate market. And so that lesson, you know, I picked up pretty quick. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned about real estate.
We find that maybe other cities have the same problem, but not as great as North Chicago, though.
Correct.
The boarded up homes, I understand that probably 5 or 6 homes that are either boarded up or in mortgage difficulty. Then what really caused that, the driving force there?
I think you can't generalize that in saying the economy, but you've got to know what to do as far as moving forward. Okay, now the houses are boarded up. We understand that. Now, what kind of solutions? And as I was doing real estate, these are the things that I was thinking about. What can we do to open these houses back up? Does that mean that we have to donate them to Youth Build for $1 to have the children actually rebuild the houses? Does that mean that we need to call investors in to actually buy up some of these homes? Does that mean that we have to open our ordinances up? Maybe our ordinances are too tight. And I started reaching out to other communities and that have had these same type of issues. East St. Louis, there are places that have our same demographics that they have solutions. And that's kind of the direction that I was heading to. I know we have that problem, but what kind of solutions can we come up with to actually open those houses back up and change our community into a progressive community.
Not only the cities that you named, of course, I'm from East St. Louis. I'm quite aware of East St. Louis, and North Chicago is in a similar situation, but our nation is in the same type of situation, but on a larger scale, and I guess the administration would probably handle the situation a little differently.
Correct. And I would say that most administrations, they're in the business of solving problems and solving dilemmas. And we have some people that are currently on our administration that work well, and they work excellent. I had the opportunity of working with such people at the administration office to work with ordinances like getting grocery stores, small grocery stores open and things of that nature. And to loosen up a couple ordinances also. There's a few businesses that I'm interested in bringing to North Chicago, and that just requires me to sit down with the city and kind of think outside the box. Okay. And come up with some ideas to bring some businesses into our community. I've talked to hundreds of landlords, tenants, potential business owners. So the advantage that I have is that I have a different perspective of an outside perspective of what would make a landlord decide to buy a home in Zion versus North Chicago. Okay. What would make a tenant want to move into our community versus wanting to move out of our community, you know, like some of the families. I'm pretty sure you're aware of the Family Ties events, but the families are actually in our community. What's the driving force behind making these long-term families actually leave the community? Businesses, what difficulties do you have with the current administration where it might be easier to open up a business in a different community? So I've had that opportunity, and I most definitely say that that has been a great experience, and I can see why God led me in that direction is because He opened my vision, and He allowed me to see some problems in our community, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing, but with the problems, He's also, as far as solutions, and moving forward and solving some of these problems. I have a greater insight on the community as a whole versus just someone that has been in the community all my life, like I have, but I have different perspectives now.
Mr. Coleman, you know, several communities have a tenure on the administration, at least the head of the administration, and I was looking at that, and that's probably not a bad idea, because if you have one leadership in a position too long, then they don't have the vision, you know, that they get set in their ways and not thinking out of the box. And it's good to have tenure so you can have change periodically, because I would think of you have work shown where thinking out of the box has kind of had paid off for you, and now we need the community is in a situation where any community, I guess, where they need some fresh ideas and stay prayerfully like you have done, and to make a difference. And you feel that you can make a difference in the city of North Chicago, right?
Yes.
Because you had, I was just listening at you, you mentioned about the boarded up homes, and you mentioned about industry coming in, and you probably a food store, a drugstore, and so forth. Yes. So maybe new ideas would be needed to make that happen.
Well, those are just small ideas, and I don't mean small ideas because they're small, because they're most definitely a step in the right direction. But doing real estate, I've had the opportunity to meet owners of stores like Aldi's, Walmart, bigger chains, Walgreens, just because I'm in the field of doing real estate. So I run across these a little bit more often than the average person. I would run across, you know, maybe the CEO of a Costco or something like that at Springfield at one of the realtors events or something like that. So I'm not just, as of right now, you've got to start small, and that's where I've started, and I've started small. But there's a lot more changes that can actually come to our city of North Chicago. So,
Mr. Coleman, I noticed that you have a strong interest in children here in the city of North Chicago. How did you get involved with the? You know, you're in the business field and you're doing other things, but children seems to be at the forefront of, you know, you're thinking too. How did you develop the necessity of helping children and guiding them the right way?
Well, I started volunteering my time to the school district, and I started working with troubled children. And there's a myth that our children are not capable, or they're behind, and they might not be able to catch up. And I found that not to be true. And as I began working with the children, and I volunteered and I coached. Actually, we have 2 championships. We have 2 banners at Neal Math and Science Academy. There's only 4 banners hanging in the gym, and 2 of those banners belong to the Neal Lady Eagles, in which I was part of as assistant coach with Coach Franklin. And we instilled, you know, visions, goals. We instilled with the children how to work together. And what I found is that our program stood out above other programs. And that there let me know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, Mr. Brooks, that our children can cooperate together. They can play as a team. Out of 2 years, we lost 1 game, and you don't do that playing individual. You know, you do that as a team. And the kids were very receptive. Some of the current problems that are going on, that some of the teachers are, or I shouldn't say teachers, but some of the school officials are saying, I didn't see those problems as great as maybe they see them. And possibly that could be because there was a little bit more structure in our program. And in my basketball program and Coach Franklin's basketball program, there's a little bit more structure. We were able to work with the AAU team, B&B Rising Stars, where you had Coach Walls. He's an excellent coach. He had some of the same principles and philosophies, and he was actually my coach in high school, so actually I got some of those philosophies from him. And we worked with the girls all year long. And for 365 days out the year, we worked with them, and they were very receptive. And that's when I realized that kids in our community are still kids in our community. They're not these children that can't learn. They're not these children that have discipline problems. If, like any child, you know, if you allow it and you let them get away with it, they're going to keep getting away with it. But if you tell them that, no, you're not going to get away with it, you're going to go around, you're going to do 100 laps, then eventually, you know, they're going to fall in line like any other child in any other school district. And so that kind of got me involved with what changes can we do in our school system to allow our children to be in the best position to be successful.
Now, you have mentioned about basketball and athletic programs. But what about the educational programs in the, I mention that because I know that if a child is having difficulty, we go over this all the time, you know, difficulty in reading, by the third grade, it's something about the third grade there, because after the third grade, they get progressively behind, and what happened is that, well, the powers to be plan on the prisons that they're going to build based on the third grade level. After third grade, they get each grade they get progressively more behind, and by the time they reach high school, they get discouraged and they drop out. I mentioned dropping out because, at least 50% of these students drop out of high school. That's when the graduation rate is so low. Now, once the student drops out, they could probably do the things that cause them to be incarcerated. And once they become incarcerated, that may be recidivism may take place and so forth, you know, but they have a felony on their record and the list goes on and on and on. They can't get a job, they can't get a home for their families and this type of thing. But it's not because of the area that they're living in, because there's so many other things that contribute to the child's, you know, regressiveness. But tell us that, what have you found out that you mentioned just a few minutes ago that every child can learn in the city of North Chicago?
Yes.
But what is the problem, you know, that you see that caused the dropout rate so high?
Oh, I can go through problems. I can spend the next hour on this show going through problems that we have in our school district. Math is another issue. By the time they get to COC, they've got to take remedial math, in which they don't get credit hours for, and they're still spending time, and they get frustrated. And I mean, I can continue to go through these problems with you, but we've got to focus on solutions. And that's what my Parents That Care group is about. You know, focuses on solutions. Like you said, the reading. We're Parents That Care. We're working with the school district hand in hand. And
so this is another group that you have, Parents That Care.
Yes.
In addition to the other groups that you have.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it's quite easy. It seems like I'm doing a lot, but actually what I do is I start the group, I give the group an idea, and I build an infrastructure, and then the people are then put into place. It's like business 101. And once the people are in place, then they can carry the vision and the mission and the goals of that group, and they can go in their direction, and I don't have to micromanage that group. Then I can move on to the next group. And that's kind of the way that business owners, you know, they start their businesses off that way. But Parents That Care, going back to reading, on Saturdays, Parents That Care group, we found out that there were detentions being served in the computer room. So we went the Parents That Care, we went one step further, and we said, well, since they're already in the computer room, and the computer room's already open, why don't we tutor them how to read and tutor them how to do math? And is there funding to give teachers stipends to actually come in and tutor? And we found those answers all to be yes. So that's a project that we're working on as a solution to adding extra educational time to the already shortened school day. You know, we can talk about how short the school day is, but then again, how are we going to solve that problem? That's just one of the issues that Parents That Care that we've addressed. Another issue is books. It's been it's a sad thing to say, but the books, we haven't had the right amount of books in our school district for a very long time. And that's been very troubling to me, and not only me, to our Parents That Care group. And that's kind of how things started. I can kind of bring this full circle. If you know anything about our children in our community, this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to keep telling them that they can't learn, they're not intelligent, they're superior, because what's going to happen is they're going to start telling. They're going to say, no, it's not that I can't learn, it's I don't have books. No, it's that I can't learn because I don't have teachers in the classroom. Or $1 million worth of smart boards. You know, we don't have internet access and the teacher doesn't even use it. She flips her classroom around and she teaches on the other side because that smart board is actually useless to the class. And that's actually how the group was actually founded. And I was surprised at what the children had brought to some of the parents that were helping them address some issues. And once we found out that these were some of the problems that were going on in the school district, there was a plea that went out to parents and people in the community to get involved. And actually get involved with their children's education, get involved with the parenting. You know, it takes a whole village to raise a child. And if I grab a child and I tutor, how many children do I have now? I would say I've got about 400 that I personally try to reach out and mentor. But if everyone just reached out and grabbed a couple children and just kind of made sure they were following in the right direction, I think that would do, my vision is that we have a lot more participation like that. And that was the vision that actually got the Parents That Care group started. And our mission was to make sure that our children have things to actually do and come up with solutions, like the swimming pool that's in our community that's been there for a while. And we have, correct me if I'm wrong, an 18-time Olympian that is right up the street from our community. Mr. Phelps was swimming champion for the Olympics. And we don't have a swimming pool in our community. Now, I can sit there and I can talk about that problem all day, but what kind of solutions are we coming up with as a city to give our children an opportunity to compete in swimming and golfing and things of that nature?
Then we blame our children.
Right.
And we're not providing a facility. Now,
absolutely,
there was space provided in the high school, I understand. The space is still there, but it never was completed. And we have this space at the Falls Park right there. But they claim that the funding is a problem in maintaining it, you know. But you have expanded beyond. You mentioned about a whole village, senior care, Seniors That Care. Is that another program?
Yes, seniors. That's something that is actually in the works. I've actually got to refer to my notes on that one because that most definitely is in the works. But we are trying to supply more services to the seniors. You know, I help my neighbor, and she happens to be a senior, almost on a daily basis. If it's nothing more than shoveling, cutting her grass, helping her, she's locked out the house. But one thing that kind of disturbs me is sometimes her grass gets too long, or sometimes no one knocks on the door. You know, Meals That Will, she has Meals That Will services, and that's kind of the highlight of her day. And which, you know, I think that there should be more services in our community towards the seniors as far as more events. And these are our seniors and these are our elders. And the way that I was raised is that you always respected your elders. And one day we'll all be elders. And, you know, I wouldn't want to look forward to, and this is not a knock on Meals That Wills, because they come out there and they spend 30 minutes and they talk and but, you know, what about actually getting them out and maybe sharing a movie night with them, where we can actually go to a Gurney Mills or a shopping spree, or where we can actually go out to Gurney. But just more volunteer help As far as with the Parents That Care group, we've got excellent volunteers. Excellent volunteers. They go out and, you know, they're involved in not just the children, but they want to see North Chicago become a better place. And so maybe if they could come help and volunteer and maybe do a dinner one night, maybe a really nice dinner.
Okay.
You know, I've got a grandmother. She's currently in a home in Gurnee, and it's an excellent home. You know, they have dinners, they have dances, they have, it's top notch. And I think that taking some of those ideas and bringing it back to our community and implementing some of those ideas in our senior citizens buildings would be excellent. And it's kind of easy because I don't have to, or we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
Because the wheel's already invented. We just have to take the time and the patience to actually get the ideas from successful homes, and I speak of senior citizens' homes, and bring them back to our community and find out where they get their funding from. And this isn't, it's not a long, hard, drawn-out process because it's already being done. And I want to bring it back just a little bit to the Parents That Care. I touched on the swimming pool at Foss Park. I touched on different entities in our community to also let you know that I sit on a group of city community leaders that consist of different entities. As far as this is something that maybe you won't read about in the newspaper, but it's different entities like Foss Park, the library board, ministers, we've got community leaders, PTC, PTO, PTA, and where we all come together and we try to lend resources to each other to actually work collectively. And with any successful group, it starts with a solid mission. And our mission is keeping our children first. So what can the school district do to help revive that swimming pool? What kind of funding can the city get as far as maybe, you know, it might be Lake County. You might have to go to the Lake County board and get some of our tax dollars from, you know, from Lake County to help fund things like the swimming pool. Far as golfing programs, we have an excellent golf course. It's top notch. I mean, we just spent a couple extra $1 million to get it all, and I've been in there, brand new dance floor, brand new. It's really nice in there. The course is par 72. People visit from all over. Why not have our children from North Chicago High School? It only takes 4 people to have a golf team. Be able to use the Foss Park facility, the golf course for free. And as far as starting a school program with our children and teach them how to golf, there's an excellent program that comes here, which is the First Tee program. And there's children from all other communities, and they come here. They drive here from Highland Park, Libertyville, Lake Forest, just to participate in this First Tee program. It's like $40 for the entire summer. You get professional tutoring from professional teachers. You get custom clubs. Why not bring that? It's right here in our community. You know, why not bring that to our school district? Why not take advantage of the resources that we have? And so Parent That Care is a little bit different than a typical PTO where they work within the realm of the school district. They actually work within the realm of the entire city. So that's our mission for Parents That Care, is most definitely putting our children first.
Well, you mentioned about programs within the school district, but there have been programs that have been transferred from the school district to College of Lake County Technology. And that's been a, is there any effort you think could be made in returning those, or is it, you know, something you think about looking at? the shop activities and the cosmetology and I guess the culinary programs and so forth, you know, and the children may not have transportation to get out to the technology facility at the College of Lake County.
Absolutely, and that is a problem. But maybe Foss Park can lend out one of their vans to help the school district, then the school district doesn't have to pay for a huge bus, and maybe they can go out. See, it's moving forward and coming up with ideas and thinking outside the box. We know the problems, Mr. Brooks. We absolutely know the problems, but I think we need to spend an equal amount of time working on the solutions. And that's one of the things that I preach and I preach and I preach is solutions, solutions, solutions. The parents, that care group, they're excellent with coming up with solutions. Half the ideas, I have to be honest, half the ideas aren't my ideas. I mean, the ideas that I just gave you, it's the parents coming together and they're saying enough is enough. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a wood shop. There's no reason why we shouldn't have these activities at the school. And one thing that the parents, that care group, is really grasping, and I'm excited about it, and they're excited about it, is we are the ones, this is our community.
Okay.
This is our city, and that's our school. And whatever it takes to get these type of programs back into our school district, that's our responsibility. That's not the school's responsibility. That's our responsibility to hold the schools accountable for not having these programs.
Oh, okay.
Okay? That's where things fall back on our laps as a community.
Okay.
And that's what, you know, that's what we're all excited about, is that the school district is working hand in hand. The superintendent, he's doing, we've got a new superintendent.
Well, you can say the former superintendent, we have a CEO now.
Yes, oh, correct. We have a CEO.
Martindale, and I think by being the CEO, I think they probably will be getting a superintendent pretty soon. I think their first meeting is this week sometime. They need a superintendent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am very excited about the way the school district has embraced our parents that care group.
Okay.
And I think that the approach that we have is excellent, because the school district realizes that that the more parent involvement that they have, the easier it makes their job. You know, if you've got parents involved in disciplining their children and making sure the children their homework is done, staying on top of their power school, that's a huge help to the teachers in the district. If they're having an event at the school district, like a meet and greet, they can contact our organization and we can get the information out to them, because we're in direct contact with the parents. That makes their job a lot easier, maybe a little less on advertising and budgeting now, because they have a direct line of communication. So
I'm happy that you have honed in on, on the programs that you're working on with the committee to accelerate actions in the school, because when a family choose to move into a city, they would say, what does that city has to offer? They think about their children, how the schools, but how's the park district, and administration of the city and so forth. This is what they're looking at before they even think about moving into a city.
I've received numerous of calls, and the number one thing is the school district.
Okay.
You are 100% correct on that, Mr. Brooks. The school district is the key to our entire community. The second thing would be extracurricular activities like Foss Park.
Okay.
And the third thing would actually be city administration, like you said. But the emphasis is really put on the school district and Foss Park, because most homes have 3 to 4 bedrooms, meaning it's a family. There's very few 1-bedroom homes. Even when you go buy a starter home, you want at least 2 bedrooms because you're expecting a little one. So what is their elementary school? It's not just high school. What is their elementary school like? So yes, that is the #1 thing that, you know, parents or anyone looking to build in our community is our school district. And that's why myself, and our committees, we're so focused on working with the children and working with the school district, because we feel that that's key in changing the entire community.
And another one is the, excuse me, the safety in a city too. I noticed that you're involved in a community watch program, and I think and I was excited about it because you're working with your alderman.
Yes.
Alderman Bonnie Mayfield and the Second Ward is working with you on that, and I also understand that the chief of police is actually working with you in the Senior Watch program.
Yes, and I absolutely cannot take credit for this one. Most definitely not. This was all Bonnie Mayfield, and this is something that she had a vision on. And this is something where I happen to live in the ward, and we all sat down and we all talked, and the chief came in and we had a meeting, and he gave us a lot of excellent ideas, gave us signs to put in our windows, and gave us instructions on how to call the police and what to say and when to remain calm. And the whole focus of this Second Ward Neighborhood Watch program is a pilot program. And if it works out, because in my specific ward, we have families that have been there for a long time, which makes our ward a little different. We have pockets throughout the entire city where you have families that have been in the ward for a very long time. But in this specific ward, you know, we've kind of grew up on the block for a very long time together. So they're going to pilot it off of the Second Ward, and we'll go from there. And if it works out, it'll be in the 5th Ward, 7th Ward, and we'll just go from there. So.
And also, you have support too from the community just south of us. I believe it's Lake Forest, Libertyville, at least Lake Forest. A program called Reading Power, and there's probably 180 volunteers that come in to read to our students. They're in K through probably 3, I think. They have about 3 or 4 schools. And their goal is to have the entire district. You know. And that's fantastic to have other people concerned about the education of the schools in the city of North Chicago.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we welcome more programs like that. I mean, there are programs out there that will assist us. And there are people out there that will assist us. All we have to do is show a little initiative. You know, it's a lot easier to get help when we as a community, we show initiative that, you know, not only do we want help, but we will help you help us. So that's important too. You know, if you don't want help, you know, people tend not to want to help you because you don't want it. So we welcome any and every program that comes into our community that makes a difference in our children's lives. Absolutely.
Now, in order to accelerate that, you in contact with the parents is to have them contact the principal and find out how they can get in contact and participate in Reading Power. Reading Power would be happy to invite anyone for assistance. And you know, probably if they're retired and so forth. And what happened is that they have a training program that the tutors have to go through with to, in other words, just anyone cannot just walk out and walk in the classroom. And that's a professional training before they can, you know, let them participate in the program. I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that has hindered that is there was a misconception, and we got in and we got some clarification on this. In order to do that, you must have a background check.
Yes.
And with this background check, you must be fingerprinted.
Okay.
In order to be around our children, which I agree with that 100%.
Oh, have to. Yeah.
We always must protect our children.
The way the climate is now in the country.
Absolutely. But these are facts, is that there have been groups of people in our community that might not properly have all their identification, in which they tend to shy away from volunteering because they might not have all their documentations in order, or they might have a small misdemeanor, and you know that shies someone away because you don't want to get turned down for anything. And the misdemeanor might be as simple as it can be a speeding ticket. I mean, everybody has their own perception of what bad is. But they don't want to be embarrassed in putting their information out. And in our community, we know that there's been an increasing crime rate. There's been increasing convictions in our community, and so not everyone's record is squeaky clean in our community as a parent. And so there has been some hesitation, and that has been a problem. And part of the solution, because I spoke about the problem, is we sat down with the school officials, the head of security, Alex, and he's an excellent guy also. And we had him explain what the school is looking for and what's important to them as far as on the background check. If you're a pedophile, absolutely. You know, I wouldn't recommend going to get fingerprinted. If it's a small misdemeanor like a speeding ticket or a traffic ticket, you know, you don't have to worry about that. You know, even though it is considered an arrest, you know, you don't have to worry about things like that. So he's came in, he's talked to our parents, and he's clarified some miscommunications. Which, so hopefully by doing that, that will increase the parent involvement, and maybe it makes it a little bit easier for a parent to come in and, you know, want to put in an application to volunteer.
I really appreciate your going through all the litany of what is happening in North Chicago and how it can be improved, because the question raises. Now, I'd just like to mention one other thing before I go and leave it, is that we are very fortunate to have with us the Naval Base Great Lakes. We have some students here that have never been out of North Chicago. You know, have never been to Chicago. But here, by having naval population in our school system, the child gets the worldwide experience. And you can't beat that. So we are very fortunate to have the Navy next door or in our school district. And so we're concerned about ACT scores, SAT, and getting accepted in colleges, you know, with the high scores. But that's great. Now, the North Chicago Rotary Club has a youth exchange program where the students go overseas, and then the child from that country, or the student from that country, come back to our school district, you know. So there's a world of benefits. But I'd like to go on and one other topic, and we have a few minutes left. What piqued your interest to get involved in politics? We can't end without that.
Well, taking those hundreds of calls at my real estate office, and hearing 8 out of 10 people tell me I don't want to move to North Chicago.
Okay.
And that was really, really discouraging for me because I was born and raised here. And when you get 8 out of 10 calls, that's, you know, then you start asking questions of why.
But they're saying that they.
No, I've had
that again. What they have told you,
they
do or do not.
They will move anywhere but North Chicago, to be exact. That I'm looking for a place to move. Can you help me move? And then my next question is, what city would you like to move to? What area?
Okay.
And the 8 out of 10 calls, the answer was anywhere but North Chicago.
All right. I thought I heard that. I just want you to repeat that to get it.
And when you have businesses that are struggling to come into our community and they say, I would like a nice office space, but I don't want it in North Chicago.
Oh my goodness.
Or a landlord says, I'm selling all my houses and I'm starting with the ones in North Chicago first.
Okay.
And then I'm going to buy some in, you know, other communities in the surrounding area, like Waukegan, Zion. It's not, the radius is only a couple miles away.
Okay.
What would make you want to sell all your houses in North Chicago and move across the street?
Okay.
So when I started hearing those answers, my mind started thinking, how can we move this city forward?
Okay.
I've heard all the problems. I've heard different problems. How can we make solutions, you know, like Obama? How can we move forward? How can we bring change to our community? Because like yourself and myself, you know, we're proud to be North Chicagoans.
Yes.
And I want to keep it that way. So at that time, I realized that in order for me to make the necessary changes as fast as I needed to make the necessary changes, I would have to move up on the political ladder or scale or in order to make the type of impact that's needed in our community right now.
Now, voter registration is low all over the county, all over the country.
Yes.
It's real low. Then, and how would you escalate voter registration and voter education?
It's not how would you, it's how are you.
Okay.
There was a big concert at Foss Park. I had a registration booth. I have a registration team. We're hooking up and we're communicating with the Underworld DJs, which is Carlton Jones. They call him the X. He has about 16 DJs throughout Lake County. A while ago, they did a voter die drive in which they actually went out to the youth. And that's what my registration team is doing. We're going out to the youth. I have people like Block Life, Marcus Hasty, where they've written books, and it's called FFF, which is Felons for Felons. Felons Can Vote in the state of Illinois, where they're actually going out and they're registering felons, and we have registrars that are going out registering youth. When I had I've been involved with the Darren Hanna situation with Jesse Jackson coming down here. We had our registration team was there.
Okay.
We've had numerous of 18-year-olds sign up and register to vote through our PTC group.
Okay.
Tomorrow in Vernon Hills, I'm taking a group of people to Vernon Hills, to the Temp Dems office, and they're going to become registrars where they can register other people to vote.
Okay.
So we're most definitely, you know, 1,000 votes is not a good number to elect the mayor. So we most definitely want to get those numbers of votes up so that we can get more funding through the county, from the state, from the federal government, because they respect your vote. And they respect the numbers that are in your vote. You got 10,000 voting in your community, they'll do a little bit more for your community. If you only got 1,000 voting, then unfortunately they do a little bit less. And we fall in that latter category of doing a little bit less because we vote. It only takes 1,000 in our community.
Well, it seems like you have several strategies and techniques, you know, to get out there. What about media and publicity?
Well, I think that's where my youth is played to my advantage because I'm on social media. I have Parents That Care, www.parentsthatcare on Facebook.com. I have Elect Anthony Coleman on Facebook.com. There's a lot of social media and a lot of technology in which Twitter, where you can get information out to the masses through the World Wide Web.
Fantastic. Well, Anthony Coleman, we want to thank you very much for taking time for your busy schedule to be with us on Community Forum. And ladies and gentlemen, we've had Mr. Anthony Coleman, the son of Gerald Coleman, and the husband of, we can't forget the better half.
Yet a little Coleman.
And she's, I'm sure with
and I have 3 children.
Okay.
If you want to go through the family. Yeah, I got a wife and 3 children, absolutely. Okay. Been married for 14 years.
Okay.
So.
And Mr. Coleman is trying to make a difference in the city of North Chicago. North Chicago has great possibilities. He's a realtor. As a matter of fact, he's a co-founder of Littman and Littman Realty Company in the city of North Chicago. A wealth of background, and we just thought you should hear Anthony Coleman and his vision, his mission, his goals. And here's a young man that's trying to make a difference in the city that he was born and raised in. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., and we hope everyone take advantage of the voter registration, voter education, and all the training about the political experience, because this is how change is made. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next week.